Thanks for checking out part 2 of my Diablo tips and tricks for beginners. We're going to continue by looking at some important hotkeys and game options that you should be aware of. If you changed your default keys to QWER from the first video, your potion key will need to be remapped. It's an important key, so make sure it's close to your hand on the keyboard. You can link equipment into chat by shift-clicking the item. It's particularly useful for showing friends how much better you are than them. Monster health bars can be toggled on or off with V. If you don't mind a little clutter on the screen, it can be very helpful for identifying weak enemies that need to be focused down. While holding control, you can mouse over items on the ground to see specific stats. This is helpful for checking out items before you pick them up, which can save you time and bag space. There is a force move command that you should bind to a key. It orders your character to move, even if you mouse over an enemy. This will keep you from accidentally shooting a monster when you are trying to run away. It's a good idea to bind this to your mouse if you have an extra button slot available. Now we'll look at some options in the game menu. Some people might not want to change the default settings, but you should at least be aware of the alternatives. In some cases, you might want a completely private game that even friends can't join. By default, anyone on your friends list can jump into your game. To change this, go to the Social tab and deselect Allow Quick Join. I recommend anyone playing a hardcore character change this so that friends don't join during a boss fight. Normally, item names on the ground disappear after 10 seconds. If you're falling behind in a group, you won't see gear that dropped earlier. In gameplay options, you can change this. Go to Item Level Display and change it to Push to Toggle. This way you will always see items and won't accidentally miss something special. It's a good idea to turn on the advanced tooltips. You can go to Gameplay Options, and on the right hand side, check Show Advanced Tooltips. This way you can learn detailed information about all of your abilities like damage, range, and duration. Next, let's take a look at some of the mechanics behind Magic Find. Magic Find is now averaged between all players in a group, so if your buddy has 100% MF and you have 0, it will split the difference. Your group will have 50% increased Magic Find. Magic Find does not currently affect how stats roll on crafting, but it does work on world objects like jars, barrels, and chests. Followers give 20% of the bonus on their gear. This includes the experience bonus, gold find, and magic find. If your follower has 100 MF in gear, it'll increase your MF by 20. It doesn't matter whether you or your follower gets the killing blow. MF shrines are additive, meaning if you have 50% MF from items and you find a shrine, it'll increase that total to 75. Next, we're going to look into some different weapon features that you should be aware of. Weapon elemental damage does affect your skills, unless that skill already has an element tied to it. In that case, the elemental damage is added onto the ability's damage component. For example, a wizard's spectral blade has no element tied to it, so a weapon with poison elemental damage adds poison to your attacks. Ray of Frost, however, already does cold damage, so the poison is just added into the skill's raw damage as frost. Dual wielding adds 15% of your offhand speed to your attacks. If your main hand has 1.0 attack speed and your offhand has 2.0 attack speed, it takes 15% of your offhand, or 0.3 of your attacks, and adds it to the main hand. That means your skills will be on a 1.3 attack speed rotation. While dual wielding, resource generators, like the Barbarian's Frenzy, typically alternate between your main hand and offhand weapons. Resource spenders, such as Seismic Slam, use the main hand weapon, plus the 15% speed increase discussed earlier. Remember, dual wielding does not always increase your DPS. Keep an eye on your average DPS on the character window screen. Weapon speed is another mechanic that confuses a lot of players. Skills take weapon damage and the attack rate into account. Faster weapons will increase your skill's cast rate. You gain Fury, Spirit, and Hatred more quickly, but also drain your resources faster, since you're spending them more quickly as well. Slower weapons generate and spend your resource much more slowly, but to compensate, they hit much harder than if you were to use a fast weapon. In theory, both fast weapons and slow do about the same DPS. It's mostly player preference whether you want fast, light attacks or slow, powerful skills. Hopefully this gave you some clarity on some of the different game options and weapon mechanics. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.